The explosive earnings formula. Many of you have gone throughout your life hoping, dreaming, thinking about the possibility of taking your earnings and exploding them to the level of your dreams. But while you think about this, down deep, you really feel it's more a fantasy. That's not possible. Well, today we're going to talk about a formula for how you can actually create explosive earnings. The formula for explosive earnings is RRI plus evolution plus WTL minus how to. RRI plus evolution plus WTL minus how to. So let's talk about RRI. RRI, how to explode our earnings by setting 3 levels of goals. People, if they set goals at all, typically set 1 level of goals. And then they think about how are they going to get there. We're going to look at this differently. We're going to set 3 levels of goals. In our 3 levels of goals, we're going to set a reasonable goal. Now, a reasonable goal would be if you made $200,000 last year, a reasonable goal would be to make 1 to 2 times your current earnings. So somewhere between 200,000 and 400,000. Let's just say for our discussion here, we say it's 300,000. So that'd be a reasonable goal. With the reasonable goal, you think about it, you're like, yeah, I could see if I did some things, if I worked a little longer, if I took a little more risk, if I took another course, or I committed to deleting something from my life, I could get there. So you see it. So that's your reasonable goal. Then we take the $200,000 number, and now we go to radical. In radical, we multiply it by 4 to 6 times. So let's say that you made $200,000 last year. We're going to multiply it by 4, and your radical goal is to make $800,000. Okay, now once we have a radical in place, then we're going to go the impossible. You see these books from like Grant Cardone and people like this, they talk about 10 times this and 10 times that. Well, here's your chance for 10 times. We're going to take 10 times your income. So if you made $200,000 last year, we're going to go for $2 million. $2 million next year would be your impossible goal. Okay, now once we have our reasonable, our radical, and our impossible, then we're going to move on to our next category, which is evolution. And the key question here is, who would you have to become to reach this goal? So the reasonable, you could see you could make some tweaks, a couple adjustments, and you could get there. The radical, though, really starts to push your buttons. To get from 200,000 to 800,000, who would you have to become? For you to go from 200,000 to 800,000, the current version of you must die. Must die. Because that current version of you will not get to 800,000. So in the new version of you, who would you have to become? How would you have to shift your psychology? How would you have to shift your views of abundance versus scarcity? What skill set would you have to have or learn? Who would you need to help you? How much money would you need to do it? You start thinking about who is the person you need to become? Who is somebody that makes 800,000 a year, and how do you get there? Now, once you've thought of that, then we move on to the impossible goal. Who would you need to become to make $2 million in a year? That's your question. That's your key question. So you really want to think this through. Because the reality is, if you don't become that person, you're not going to make $2 million. It's not going to happen. So who do you need to become to make $2 million a year? So once we get a sense of who we want to become, then we go to WTL. To create 10 times results and to make maximum impact, we need WTL. That's who plus technology plus leverage. So the who is, who can I utilize? can I lean on? Can I hire? Can I have help me that have skill sets different than mine, that have strengths different than mine, that can leverage, we'll come back to that, but leverage my skills through many people. You're not going to be able to do it all yourself. Just going back to who you can become, who you need to become. Many of you out there already work your ass off. You can't just work harder. That's not the answer. So who can help you? Then we move to the T, which is technology. What technology could you leverage to be more productive? What technology could you leverage to reach more people? Technology helps you to be institutionalized. It helps you to be consistent. It helps you to last. So people can help, technology can help. The last is leverage. You've heard me already mention leverage several times just in this section. But leverage is about, how do I take the efforts? How do I take the resources? How do I take everybody around me? How do I leverage what I'm doing to get maximum impact and maximum benefit? Can I do one thing? Can I buy one computer? Can I buy one server? Can I launch one course? Can I come up with one idea? Can I hire one employee? Can I raise capital one time and then multiply it across the board? We want to remember that with focus, there's power in focus. And if we can get focused in on the right thing, we can then leverage it through multiple places. Look at in what I do. I leverage everything I do. I leverage my teams. My trading team also teaches. My trading team also helps develop content. My trading team also helps put out our advisory services. So everybody's working. We need all of these things to trade anyways. So we leverage them. We leverage them to pay the costs. We leverage them to make them profitable. And then you can see how all of a sudden the P&L or the earnings can start to take off because you have multiple revenue streams. So leverage is key. One of the things I love about trading with leverage is once you get a really good strategy to increase your earnings by 10 times, all you got to do is add a zero. So if you can make $100,000 a year trading a 10 lot, you can trade $1 million on a 100 lot. You can make 10 million on a 1,000 lot. You just got to add a zero. Now there's ceilings to this, of course, and you'll get to a ceiling. There'll be a liquidity threshold that's as high as you can go. But the cool thing is to actually find where that ceiling is. Most traders never know where the ceiling is. So we just add zeros to get our leverage. Last is how to, where everybody gets tripped up in this, is they start thinking about, well, I make 200,000 a year, so I want to make 800,000. Okay, how am I going to make 800,000? That's the first thing that goes through their mind. And then right away they're like, wow, I can't do that. So they shut it down. Your ego, your conscious mind shuts it down. That's not what we want. You notice what we're doing is we're going to the end. We're not walking a path to the end. We're going to the end and then we're coming back. And by doing this, we can open up our conscious mind. If we know that we're going to make $800,000 and we're clear about who we need to become to make $800,000, then the how will start to show up. And it's got to remember, you don't know the how. It's okay. You can have some idea about it, but you don't need to know it all. It'll show up as you go. You just need to get an idea of what you want and become clear about who you need to be and then start moving towards it, and the how will show up. We just have to remember that we must do things differently than we did in the past. Our old self must die and the new self must rise. So that's our formula. There's a lot here. I could teach a whole course on this. But for now, just want you to recap. It's explosive earnings equals reasonable, radical, and possible goals, the evolution of self, who do you need to become, WTL, who needs to help you, what technologies can you use, and how do you institute leverage, minus how to. So I'll see you next Tuesday, where I will come to you with additional thoughts like today that will help you take your trading to the next level. You realize this is psychological, right? This is all psychology. That's why this formula is so important. You start taking principles like I'm sharing here, and you start to internalize this, not just intellectually understand them, but physically internalize them. And your life will start to change radically, maybe even impossibly. All right, God bless. I'll see you next Tuesday.